Chapter 1: The Road to Fluency. I live in a small, quiet town. I have a big dream. I want to become an international travel guide. I imagine myself leading groups of tourists from all over the world. I want to show them beautiful places, share stories, and help them understand the culture of my country. I want to see faraway places, meet interesting people, and, most of all, make connections. But there is one big problem. I don't feel confident speaking English. In school, I learned a little English. However, speaking it fluently is much harder than I thought. Every time I try to speak, I get nervous. I worry about making mistakes and sounding foolish. Sometimes I don't even try. I think about all the words and rules I don't know yet. This fear holds me back. My dream of guiding people feels like it's slipping away. Deep down, I know that speaking English is important if I want to reach my goals. One sunny afternoon, I decide to go to a small cafe in town for a change of scenery. I find a cozy corner, order a coffee, and try to relax. As I sip my drink, I hear voices behind me. When I turn around, I see a group of people at the next table speaking in English. They are laughing, chatting, and sharing stories. Their conversation sounds natural and effortless. The way they speak is smooth and confident. It sounds like music to me, the rhythm of fluent English filling the room with life. I can't help but feel a spark inside me as I listen. That's what I want, I think. I want to speak like that. I want to share stories in English, just like them. I imagine myself in their place, speaking English confidently with people from different countries, connecting with them, laughing, and exchanging ideas. For the first time, I feel a strong determination rise within me. I know it won't be easy, and I will face many challenges, but I decide that day to give it my all. I want to make my dream a reality. That evening, I go home feeling inspired. I take out a notebook and write down my goal in big, bold letters. I will speak English fluently. I make a promise to myself that I'll practice every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. I know it will take time and effort, but I believe that each step will bring me closer to fluency. I feel a surge of hope as I close my notebook. I don't know exactly how I'll get there, but the first step is believing that I can. In the days that follow, I start small. I watch videos in English, listen to songs, and try to understand the words. I read simple English articles and practice speaking sentences out loud, even if no one is there to listen. I stumble, make mistakes, and laugh at myself, but I don't stop. Every time I feel nervous or shy, I remember those people in the cafe speaking so naturally. I hold on to that image as my inspiration. I feel like I'm on my own little language island. Like Robinson Crusoe, who was stranded on an island and had to learn everything step by step to survive. I don't know exactly what to do at first, but I learn as I go. Crusoe figured out how to build a shelter, find food and make a life for himself. My journey to learn English is similar. I don't know everything yet, but each day I find small ways to move forward. Every new word I learn and every sentence I speak is like a step toward building my own shelter in this new language. I imagine a day in the future when I'll finally feel at home with English. I picture myself leading a group of tourists, sharing stories confidently in English, and connecting with people from around the world. This image keeps me going, fueling my desire to learn. The journey may be long, but the spark of my dream has turned into a small but steady flame. I'm ready to keep going, one step at a time. Chapter 2: Overcoming Fear. The next week, I decide to take my commitment seriously and enroll in a beginner's English course at the local community center. I feel nervous but also excited. This is my first real step toward becoming fluent. When I arrive, I see a few other students who, like me, seem a bit unsure. Some are older, some younger, but we all share the same goal. It's comforting to know that I'm not alone on this journey. Our teacher is kind and patient, and she starts the first lesson by teaching us simple greetings and phrases. As we go through the basics, I realize just how much I don't know. Even the simplest sentences feel challenging. I keep stumbling over words and I feel clumsy and frustrated. Part of me wonders if I'm too old to be learning like this, but another part of me is determined to keep going. This is the path I chose, and I'm not giving up. During one of the lessons, I meet a few other students who feel just as nervous as I do. There's Ria, who wants to learn English to apply for a better job, and Samir, who hopes to study abroad someday. We quickly become friends and start sitting together in class. After each lesson, we stay back to practice what we've learned. We laugh at our mistakes and help each other with tricky words. Ria and I try to practice basic conversations, and even though we stumble and sometimes get it wrong, it feels great to have someone to practice with. One evening after class, Ria and Samir suggest that we start a study group. We can meet a few times a week to practice more, Ria says. I think it will help us improve faster. I agree, feeling relieved. Practicing with them feels safe because we're all beginners, and there's no pressure to be perfect. We decide to meet at a park near the community center after our classes. In our study group, we start with simple exercises, like introducing ourselves and talking about our day in English. Sometimes we bring small flashcards with new vocabulary words, and we try to use them in sentences. It's not easy. We still make a lot of mistakes, but instead of feeling embarrassed, we laugh about it. Slowly, I start to feel more comfortable with speaking. The fear of making mistakes fades a little, and I realize that practicing with friends makes the process more enjoyable. It's like building a foundation together, brick by brick, one word at a time. One day, Ria dares me to go up to a tourist in the park and say, "Hello?" My heart pounds, and I feel my hands getting sweaty. Part of me wants to back out, But another part of me knows that this is an important step. If I can speak to someone who doesn't speak my native language, I'll feel braver. So I take a deep breath and walk up to a tourist who's sitting on a bench looking at a map. I smile nervously and say, "Hello, can I help you?" The tourist looks up and smiles back, saying, "Oh, yes, thank you. I'm looking for the museum." At first, I'm so surprised that he understood me. I quickly give him directions, trying to use the phrases we learned in class. It's not perfect, and I stumble a little, but he thanks me and walks away, and I feel a surge of excitement. I actually did it. I spoke English with a stranger. It was a small interaction, but to me, it feels like a huge step forward. I share the experience with Ria and Samir, and they cheer me on, encouraging me to keep practicing. That small success makes me feel a little braver, a little more capable. I start looking forward to our study group even more, and I realize that having friends who share my struggles and support my growth makes the journey much easier. I know I have a long way to go, but for the first time, I feel like I'm truly on my way. Like Robinson Crusoe building his shelter from scratch, I'm building my confidence in English bit by bit. I still stumble, but each mistake feels less like a failure and more like a lesson. Now I'm beginning to see that every small victory counts, and each step I take brings me closer to my dream. Chapter 3. Small Steps Forward. As the days pass, I realize that speaking English isn't just about using the right words. It's also about understanding others. I want to sound natural, to flow with the language instead of stopping and starting, trying to remember each word. My teacher suggests an exercise that seems simple but proves to be very powerful: listening. She tells us, the more you listen, the more you'll understand. Just listen to English whenever you can. That night, I go home and search for English videos. I find one that seems interesting, a short documentary about animals. At first, it's challenging. The people in the video speak quickly, and I only catch a few words, but instead of giving up, I keep listening. I tell myself that understanding even a little is progress. I sit with my notebook and jot down words I recognize. Slowly, I start to get the gist of the sentences, even if I don't understand every single word. The next day in class, I mention this to Ria, and she says, "Why don't we try listening to English songs too?" That sounds like fun. So after class, we head to a nearby cafe with Samir, and we play a few popular English songs. We try to guess the lyrics, laughing as we mishear words and make silly guesses. It's surprising how music helps. The rhythm and melody make it easier to remember words. Soon, I find myself humming the tunes and repeating phrases I've heard. Listening to English every day becomes a routine for me. I try different things. I watch short YouTube videos, listen to songs, and sometimes even play English podcasts. Some words are difficult, but I don't let that stop me. I focus on the overall meaning instead of getting stuck on each word. Bit by bit, I notice an improvement. Words that once sounded strange now feel familiar, and phrases I couldn't understand before start making sense. One night, I stumble upon a podcast about travel stories, and I'm immediately hooked. The host talks about different countries, sharing funny experiences and cultural insights. Even though I don't understand every word, the excitement in his voice and the stories he tells make me feel connected. It feels as if I'm traveling with him, experiencing the adventures through his words. This sparks something inside me, reminding me why I wanted to learn English in the first place. Listening to his stories, I feel motivated to keep going, to push through the tough parts so I can share my own stories one day. As my listening improves, I start noticing the little things, like the tone people use, the way they stress certain words, and the pauses in between. I realize that these details add life to the language. English isn't just about the words. It's about how you say them, too. Watching movies and listening to different accents, I start picking up on these subtle nuances. It's like opening a new door into the language, understanding that English has its own rhythm and character. One evening in our study group, Ria shares that she's been watching a series in English with subtitles. She says it's helped her understand conversations better. Intrigued, I decide to give it a try. I find a show that looks interesting and start watching with English subtitles. At first, I read every word, focusing on matching the sounds to the text. But soon, I start understanding without relying on the subtitles as much. Watching the characters' expressions and hearing their tone, I can guess the meaning without needing to read along. It feels like a breakthrough. English is slowly becoming something I can understand naturally. In class, I can now follow conversations a little better, and I feel more confident speaking up. My teacher notices my progress and smiles, saying, "Listening is the secret. The more you listen, the easier speaking becomes." She's right. Without realizing it, listening has become the foundation of my learning. I've started thinking in English, hearing phrases in my mind even when I'm not studying. It feels like the language is becoming a part of me, like I'm carrying it everywhere I go. By the end of the month, I feel like I've made a real shift. I may not be fluent yet, but I'm on my way. I understand more than I did before, and my speaking feels smoother. Just as Robinson Crusoe gradually learned the rhythms of the island, I'm beginning to learn the rhythm of English. Listening has opened up a world of understanding, and I'm eager to explore it further, knowing that each word, each story, brings me closer to my dream. Chapter 4. Finding Inspiration. As I continue my journey to speak English fluently, I realize that the most important part is practice. I know I need to make the most of every opportunity to practice my speaking skills. So, I decide to seek out new ways to build my confidence and improve my fluency. One Saturday morning, I visit a local language exchange event that I heard about from a friend. The idea is simple. People come together to practice speaking different languages. I feel a mix of excitement and fear as I enter the room filled with chatter and laughter. I take a deep breath, reminding myself that everyone is there to learn, just like I am. As I look around, I spot a few people who seem approachable. I gather my courage and approach a friendly-looking group. "Hi, I'm Aria," I say, trying to sound confident despite my nerves. They greet me warmly, and I learn that they are also learning English. We start talking, and I find myself sharing a bit about my dream of becoming a travel guide. It's amazing how just talking about my passion helps me feel more comfortable. During our conversation, I realize that I don't have to be perfect. Everyone makes mistakes, and that's okay. The more I speak, the more I find myself thinking in English instead of translating from my native language. I start using phrases I've practiced in class, and they flow more easily than before. My heart races with excitement when I catch myself expressing thoughts clearly and without hesitation. As the weeks pass, I attend more language exchange events. Each time, I feel a little braver and a little more fluent. I meet people from different countries, each with their own story and language journey. Sometimes, I even help them practice my native language. It's fulfilling to share what I know and to see them light up when they understand a new word or phrase. One evening, I meet a traveler named Jake from Canada at one of the events. He's visiting my town and wants to practice his English while also learning about the local culture. We end up spending a few hours talking about our lives, our dreams, and the places we want to visit. Jake encourages me to share stories in English, and I tell him about my plans to become a travel guide. He listens intently and gives me helpful feedback, suggesting ways to express my ideas more clearly. His encouragement feels like a boost to my confidence. Inspired by our conversation, I start writing short travel stories in English. I keep a journal where I describe my favorite places and experiences in my town. At first, it feels challenging to find the right words, but I remind myself of all the listening and practice I've done. I push through, focusing on sharing my thoughts rather than worrying about mistakes. Writing helps me organize my ideas, and I enjoy the creative process. I feel like I'm not just learning a language, I'm also discovering a way to express myself. Encouraged by my progress, I decide to share one of my stories at the next language exchange event. My heart pounds as I prepare to read it aloud, but I know this is an important step for me. When the time comes, I stand in front of the group, take a deep breath, and begin reading. As I speak, I notice the supportive smiles of my new friends, which gives me the strength to continue. I stutter a little and mispronounce a few words, but the audience listens attentively and applauds when I finish. Their encouragement makes me feel proud and accomplished. From that moment, I understand that practice is the key to building confidence. Each time I speak in English, whether it's sharing a story, engaging in conversation, or helping someone else learn, I grow stronger. The fear that once held me back starts to fade, replaced by a newfound sense of self-assurance. I realize that every conversation, every story shared, brings me closer to my dream. With each step I take, I am not just learning a language, I am discovering who I am and what I can achieve. I am on my way to becoming the confident speaker I always wanted to be, ready to embrace the adventures that await me in the world of travel and storytelling. Chapter 5: The Power of Practice. As I continue to practice my English, I come to understand that making mistakes is a natural part of the learning process. At first, I felt embarrassed whenever I stumbled over words or forgot a phrase, but now I see those moments differently. Each mistake is a lesson that helps me grow. I remind myself that every great speaker has faced challenges along the way. One evening, during our study group, Ria shares her experience from a recent job interview. She confidently spoke about her skills and qualifications in English, but she made a few mistakes along the way. I was so nervous, but I kept going, she says with a smile. In the end, they appreciated my effort, even if I didn't get every word right. Hearing her story inspires me. It shows that even when we mess up, we can still make a positive impression. Encouraged by Ria's story, I decide to embrace my own mistakes. Instead of avoiding difficult conversations, I push myself to engage more, even if I'm not fully confident. I recall the night I spoke to the tourist in the park. At that moment, I had taken a chance, and it turned out to be a valuable experience. I want to create more opportunities like that for myself. One Saturday, I attend another language exchange event. I'm feeling particularly adventurous and decide to start a conversation with a group of native English speakers. As I approach them, my heart races, but I remind myself that I have nothing to lose. I introduce myself and ask them about their travels. They seem friendly and eager to chat, which helps ease my nerves. As we talk, I notice that I struggle with some words, and my sentences aren't always perfect. I stutter and pause, searching for the right phrases. However, instead of feeling embarrassed, I focus on the conversation. The group is encouraging, and they correct my mistakes gently when needed. One of them even says, "It's great that you're practicing. Keep it up." Their kindness reassures me and helps me relax. Over the following weeks, I notice a change in my attitude. I start to see mistakes as stepping stones rather than obstacles. When I mispronounce a word or mix up tenses, I laugh it off and correct myself. I've learned that it's okay not to be perfect, and that each mistake is a chance to learn something new. To challenge myself even further, I decide to join a public speaking club that meets once a week. The idea of speaking in front of a crowd is intimidating, but I'm eager to improve. At the first meeting, I sit in a circle with others who are also learning to speak confidently. I feel a mixture of excitement and nervousness as I listen to everyone share their stories. When it's finally my turn to speak, I take a deep breath and present a short story about my journey to learn English. I talk about my struggles, my progress, and the friends I've made along the way. My voice shakes a little, and I stumble over a few words, but I keep going. When I finish, the group applauds, and I feel a rush of pride. It's a small victory, but it reminds me of how far I've come. Over time, I become more comfortable speaking in front of others. I start experimenting with different ways to express myself. Sometimes I use humor, and other times I share personal anecdotes. Each time I speak, I feel a bit more confident, as if I'm shedding layers of fear and insecurity. I realize that sharing my experiences not only helps me improve, but also connects me with others. As I reflect on my journey, I'm grateful for every step I've taken. The moments of doubt and frustration have shaped me into a more resilient person. I've learned to embrace mistakes, knowing that they are a vital part of my growth. I also understand the importance of community. My friends, study group, and language exchange partners have supported me along the way. We celebrate each other's successes, no matter how small, and we push each other to keep going. I feel a sense of belonging that fuels my motivation to learn. By the end of this chapter in my journey, I recognize that speaking English fluently is not just about mastering vocabulary or grammar. It's about connecting with others and sharing my story. With every conversation, I build not only my language skills, but also my confidence. I look forward to the challenges ahead, knowing that I am becoming the fluent speaker I've always dreamed of being. Chapter 6: Learning from Mistakes. As I continue to grow in my English speaking journey, I realize that this experience is about more than just learning a language. It's about discovering who I am and what I'm capable of. Each conversation, each story shared, is a step toward understanding myself better and becoming more confident in my abilities. One day, while studying at a cafe, I overhear a group of tourists discussing their travel plans. They're trying to decide which places to visit in my city. A spark of curiosity ignites within me. I want to help them. Gathering my courage, I approach them and introduce myself. Hi, I'm Aria. If you need any tips about places to visit, I'd be happy to help. They seem surprised and delighted. We start talking about the best local attractions, and I share my favorite spots. I feel a rush of excitement as I explain why I love these places and what makes them special. Their interest in my recommendations boosts my confidence, and I find myself speaking more naturally, using phrases and vocabulary I've learned along the way. During our conversation, one of the tourists, a woman named Emily, asks me about my own experiences traveling. I share my dream of becoming a travel guide and express my passion for helping others discover new places. To my surprise, Emily responds enthusiastically, saying, "You have a real talent for this. You should consider leading tours. Your passion shines through." Her words resonate with me, planting a seed of possibility in my mind. After our conversation, I reflect on the encounter. I realize how much I enjoy sharing my knowledge and helping others. This experience opens my eyes to a potential future I hadn't fully considered before. Perhaps I could turn my passion for travel and English into a career. The thought excites me, but it also fills me with questions and uncertainty. Motivated by this new insight, I start researching what it takes to become a travel guide. I discover that many guides need to be fluent in English and have good communication skills. This realization fuels my determination to continue improving my language skills. I set a goal to practice English daily, focusing on speaking, listening, and learning new vocabulary related to travel. As I dive deeper into this journey, I begin writing travel articles in English. I choose topics like the best local foods to try, cultural customs, and must-see landmarks. Writing helps me articulate my thoughts and share my experiences in a structured way. Each article I complete feels like a small victory, a step closer to my dream. To enhance my writing skills, I decide to join an online writing community. I share my articles and seek feedback from others who are passionate about travel writing. The feedback is valuable, and I learn how to refine my style and engage my readers better. I embrace constructive criticism, viewing it as an opportunity to grow rather than a setback. Over time, I notice that my confidence in speaking English also spills over into my writing. The more I write, the easier it becomes to express my thoughts. I start to enjoy the process of creating narratives and sharing stories, and I feel a sense of pride in my progress. One evening, I participate in a local storytelling event. I prepare a short story about my journey to learn English and how it has opened up new opportunities for me. When it's my turn to speak, I feel a mixture of excitement and nervousness, but I remind myself of how far I've come. As I share my story, I notice the audience's reactions. They laugh at the funny parts and nod in understanding during the more serious moments. Their engagement makes me feel connected, and I lose track of my nerves. After my performance, several people approach me to compliment my story. They express how relatable my experiences were and share their own language learning journeys. This sense of community reinforces my belief that we're all in this together, learning and growing side by side. As I continue this journey, I realize that learning English is not just about the language itself. It's about building connections, discovering my passions, and finding my voice. I feel empowered to share my story, knowing that my experiences can inspire others. I embrace the challenges and uncertainties, knowing that they are all part of this incredible journey of self-discovery. With each conversation, each article, and each story I share, I grow more confident in my abilities. I am becoming the person I always wanted to be, one who speaks English fluently and connects with others through the power of language. I look forward to what lies ahead, knowing that my journey is just beginning. Chapter 7. Sharing my passion with the world. As my confidence in speaking English grows, I feel an overwhelming desire to share my passion for travel and language with others. I start thinking about ways I can inspire people on their own journeys to learn English. I want to create a space where others can connect, practice, and feel encouraged, just as I have throughout my experiences. One day, while sitting at my favorite cafe, an idea sparks in my mind. What if I start a blog? This could be a platform where I can share my travel stories, tips for learning English, and my experiences as a language learner. The thought excites me, and I envision a community of people who share similar dreams and challenges. I spend the next few days researching how to start a blog. I learn about different platforms, writing styles, and how to attract an audience. I feel a mix of excitement and nervousness as I plan my first few posts. I want to create content that is both relatable and helpful, something that reflects my journey and encourages others to embark on their own. After setting up my blog, I write my first post titled, "My Journey to Speaking English Fluently." I share my story, my struggles, my triumphs, and the moments that have shaped me along the way. I write about the language exchange events, the friends I've made, and the lessons I've learned from mistakes. As I type, I feel a sense of fulfillment. Writing my story reminds me of how far I've come and how much I still want to achieve. Once I hit the publish button, I feel a rush of excitement mixed with anxiety. What if no one reads it? What if they don't find it interesting? But deep down, I remind myself that this is about sharing my journey, not just seeking validation. To my surprise, within a few days, I start receiving comments from readers who resonate with my experiences. Some share their own struggles with learning English, while others express gratitude for the encouragement I provide. I realize that my words have the power to connect people, and this fuels my desire to keep writing. As my blog gains traction, I decide to host a small online workshop on learning English through travel stories. I invite people from my language exchange group and other friends who are interested in improving their language skills. I plan a fun and interactive session where we can share travel anecdotes, practice speaking, and learn new vocabulary together. On the day of the workshop, I feel a mix of excitement and nervousness as participants join the video call. I introduce myself and share my journey, just as I did in my first blog post. Then, I encourage everyone to share their own travel stories. The atmosphere is filled with laughter and enthusiasm as we exchange experiences and learn from one another. During the workshop, I noticed that people who were initially shy begin to open up. They share funny mishaps from their travels, cultural surprises, and their own dreams of exploring the world. I feel proud to facilitate this space for them, and it reinforces my belief that learning a language is not just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about connecting with others and sharing experiences. After the workshop, I receive messages from participants expressing how much they enjoyed it and how inspired they feel to keep learning. Their feedback warms my heart and reminds me of why I started this journey in the first place. I realize that I want to continue hosting these workshops regularly. creating a supportive community for language learners. Encouraged by this success, I start exploring other ways to share my passion. I think about creating a YouTube channel where I can share travel tips, language learning advice, and personal stories. Video content feels intimidating, but I remind myself that it's another opportunity to connect with people and inspire them. I start researching how to create engaging videos and learn about editing techniques. Once I feel prepared, I film my first video discussing my favorite travel destinations and how they helped me improve my English. I share personal anecdotes, tips for overcoming language barriers, and the joy of exploring new cultures. As I edit the video, I feel a mixture of excitement and nervousness about putting myself out there again. When I finally upload the video, I feel vulnerable and yet hopeful. Just like with my blog, I remind myself that this is about sharing my journey and connecting with others. Over the next few weeks, I receive comments and messages from viewers who appreciate my authenticity and passion. Some share their own travel experiences and ask for advice on learning English, and I enjoy interacting with them. This journey of sharing my passion continues to deepen my love for language learning. Each blog post, each workshop, and each video feels like a step toward building a community that supports one another in our journeys. I realize that I'm not just learning to speak English. I'm also becoming a part of something much larger, a network of individuals who encourage and uplift one another. As I reflect on how far I've come, I feel a profound sense of gratitude. The challenges I faced have shaped me into a more confident speaker and a passionate storyteller. I am excited about the future and all the possibilities that lie ahead. I know that the journey to fluency is ongoing, but I am ready to embrace every opportunity, challenge, and connection along the way. I look forward to sharing my experiences and inspiring others to pursue their dreams of speaking English fluently. Chapter 8: Connecting Through Culture and Language. As I continue to share my journey through my blog and videos, I become increasingly aware of the importance of culture in language learning. I realize that understanding the culture behind a language enhances communication and connection. Speaking English is not just about words and grammar. It's about understanding the people who speak it and the context in which they live. One day, I receive an email from a reader named Liam, who is from the UK. He shares that he enjoys my blog and is interested in learning more about my culture in India. This sparks an idea in my mind. Why not create a series of posts that highlight the cultural aspects of my country and how they influence language learning? I know that exploring our cultural differences can enrich our understanding of each other and create meaningful conversations. I begin researching various cultural topics, from traditional festivals and foods to customs and values. I write my first post titled 5 Unique Indian Festivals and Their Significance. In it, I describe vibrant celebrations like Diwali and Holi, sharing the customs and traditions associated with each festival. I also explain how these events can serve as great opportunities for language learners to practice their English skills while connecting with locals. When I publish the post, I feel a wave of excitement. I'm not just sharing my experiences, I'm also offering insights into my culture that can help others understand the context of our conversations. To my delight, I receive positive feedback from readers, including Liam, who expresses interest in visiting India someday. He asks questions about my favorite festivals, and I eagerly respond, feeling a sense of pride in my heritage. Encouraged by the response, I create more cultural content. I write about traditional Indian cuisine, explaining popular dishes like biryani and dosa, and I provide simple recipes for readers to try. I also explore cultural norms, such as the importance of hospitality and family values in Indian society. Each post brings me closer to understanding my culture and helps others connect with it through language. As I dive deeper into this project, I think about how I can bring people together to experience our cultures firsthand. Inspired by my earlier workshops, I decide to organize a cultural exchange event online. I invite friends from my language exchange group and my blog readers to join. The goal is to create a space where we can share our cultures, learn from one another, and practice English in a fun and engaging way. On the day of the event, I feel a mix of excitement and nerves. I prepare a presentation showcasing different aspects of Indian culture, including music, dance, and clothing. I also encourage participants to share something unique about their cultures. As the event begins, I'm greeted by enthusiastic faces from around the world, each eager to connect and share. As I present, I feel a sense of joy in sharing my culture. The participants engage with questions and comments, and I can see their interest grow. When it's their turn to share, we hear stories from various countries, each with its own rich traditions and experiences. We laugh together, learn from one another, and create a warm atmosphere of camaraderie. One participant, Maya from Brazil, shares a beautiful story about Carnival and how it brings people together through music and dance. I find myself fascinated by her description, and it inspires me to learn more about her culture. This exchange of stories reminds me that despite our differences, we share similar values and experiences. As the event comes to a close, I feel an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. We've created connections across cultures, and participants express how much they enjoyed the experience. They thank me for organizing the event and share how it has motivated them to explore more about different cultures and languages. The success of this cultural exchange sparks an idea for a new series on my blog, Cultural Conversations. In this series, I plan to feature guest posts from friends and readers around the world, allowing them to share their unique cultural experiences. I believe this will not only enrich my blog, but also create a platform for diverse voices and stories. Over the next few months, I reach out to friends I've met through my language exchange and blogging community, inviting them to contribute. I'm amazed at the variety of perspectives and experiences that come my way. Each guest post introduces new cultural insights, language tips, and personal stories that resonate with my readers. I learn about the customs of different countries, the challenges of learning new languages, and the beauty of connecting with others. As I compile these stories, I realize that language learning is a shared journey. Each person's experience is unique, but we all face similar challenges and triumphs. This understanding deepens my appreciation for the power of language as a bridge that connects us across borders. Reflecting on my journey, I recognize that learning English has transformed my life in ways I never imagined. It has opened doors to new friendships, opportunities, and experiences. More importantly, it has allowed me to share my passion for travel and culture, creating connections with people around the world. I feel grateful for every step I've taken, from the first hesitant words I spoke to the vibrant conversations I now engage in. I look forward to continuing this journey, embracing new challenges and celebrating the beauty of language and culture. Together, we can inspire one another to reach our goals, explore new horizons, and create a world where language brings us closer together.